This week, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce you to my great friend from Finland, Marja Koivisto. Now, not only is Marja the first person that I certified as an NPA teacher, she's also a published author with 5 books under her belt, and she's in the final stages of her 6th book, The Temple of Excellence, which we'll get to find out about today. Now, along with being an NPA teacher, she's got nearly 20 years experience consulting with clients for well-being and self-development. She's an NLP trainer, a mindfulness at work teacher, and a practitioner of the journey method. Her first 17 years of her career were spent working in the corporate world, and she has an MBA, a master's degree in leadership. So in our conversation, we talk about what it's like to have a Tinkerbell Terrier nature. We talk about national identity and the freedom of writing in a second language. Of course, I ask her what it takes to write 6 books and what is the Temple of Excellence. And we talk about slaying the dragons of limitation. And she also tells us about exploring your innate excellence recipes, as she calls them, and why they're so cool. And we couldn't finish this conversation without talking about what it was like for her to be part of the formative years of NPA. I'll tell you, we had a lot of fun recording this conversation, and there's a lot of great insights and ideas for you to take away. And as ever, you'll find all the links mentioned in the show notes, which for this episode you'll find at www.babrillianthuman.com/105. So without further ado, let's dive in. Welcome to the Be a Brilliant Human podcast with me, Joel Young. If you're looking to improve your life, to heal, to grow and mature as an individual, but maybe you found that some of the personal development and consciousness stuff has given you the impression that you need to be super serious and vigilant to get anywhere meaningful, or feeling like maybe you're just not up to snuff, well, this show is here to remind you of your humanity, and in fact that's where your true joy and brilliance lies. With over 25 years of experience in the transformation biz and having developed NPA, one of the world's simplest, pressure-free approaches to growth and well-being, if I do say so myself, I'll be sharing tips, steps, and insights that'll help you navigate all the aspects of life as a growth-seeking being. On this show, it comes to you with a good dose of humour, maybe a smattering of colourful language, a reminder not to take things so personally, and most importantly, to be kind to yourself along the way. Make sure you hit that follow button, and let's get into it. Hello, Marja.
Farewell.
I'm so glad to have you on the show after all this time. We go back a long way.
Yeah, thank you.
We go back a long way, and there's so much we could talk about because you've got such a full career, not least of which is being the first certified NPA teacher ever. And you know, but before we, I want to tell the folks, the listeners, about how that happened because it is kind of hilarious. But before that, just give us, I've read your bio out, but who are you? You know, what are you about?
If I describe, in a light way, I'm that Tinkerbell Terrier combination of person who wants to discover new things and then is very persistent with certain things. And yeah, I've been working on self-development field nearly 20 years now, and I'm a trainer and coach, and I am a certified NPA teacher.
Well, Tinkerbell Terrier.
Yeah,
that's so true. So, and in that you've written 6. Well, you had published 5 books.
Yeah,
and you're about to have your 6th book published, which we're going to talk about today later on. That's quite an achievement. As someone who hasn't written the first NPA book yet, and we had a little chat about that before we hit record. To me, it's like super impressive that you've done 6 books. How does that feel to have that under your belt? To have 5 plus almost 6 books out in the world.
Well, I don't know, these books basically just happened. I somehow I had a wish. Someone told me lately that I had been dreaming of writing a book, which I didn't remember. So somehow that started to happen when I had that dream. But I need to say that this last book, which is called The Temple of Excellence.
I love that title, by the way, The Temple of Excellence. Makes you just want to buy it right off the bat, doesn't it? Sorry, go on.
The Temple of Excellence means you, means me, and of course all the listeners.
Yeah.
All the excellence lies within. We have so huge capacity within us that it's simply mind-blowing, and we could be benefiting that a whole lot more. But so about this last book, writing this has been a process of 3 years nearly. There, NPA is well presented.
Yes, because you've included quite a lot of NPA. We've talked a lot about doing that, about how to include it, and again, I do want to tell them about how you became a teacher. But I just want to say that one of the things I got to experience the work that you talk about in the book, and I found it fascinating, powerful, surprising, and it opened my eyes to a number of things which I sort of include as part of my general perspective since then. So I'm excited for the book to be forthcoming. Plus, it's got to be said, it's in English, and you being from Finland, all the way from Helsinki in Finland, that's another level of, if you want to demonstrate excellence, the willingness to see what's possible. To me, you're amazing at English, and my Finnish is like 4 words. But that's quite a thing.
I always feel that, a little bit pity that I'm not better in English, but to soothe any listeners, my English version is corrected and proofread version, not my original English. So
I find that fascinating, because it's like, I know that you wrote it in English. You were thinking in English because you speak a lot of English, and then you've taken it to an editor who's a native English speaker to then sort of polish up various bits that, understandably wouldn't be perfect grammar and all that kind of stuff. But that must have been quite an interesting process to, if I've got that right, that you were sort of thinking in English when you wrote it.
I was thinking in English. Actually, the story goes like this: that I first started writing it in my mother language, Finnish, and it was such a hard task to do. I was really struggling with that. And then someone told me, when I was complaining about the hard job, she said to me, and Jodie Peaver, our mutual friend, so she said to me that, hey, why don't you write in English instead? And I went like, well, yeah, I've been writing nearly 200 pages already. And she said that, well, you can start from the beginning. And I went like, oh my God. But then I was testing the idea with some of my friends, actually you too.
Yes.
I was asking about this, and all the comments were like, duh, I've been saying that to you already a few years. And I went like, oh, really? And then I thought that, okay, I'll try one chapter which I knew needs some fixing. And I started writing that again, and it started flowing. And then I realized that, yeah, of course, I have many friends, English speakers in this field, and I've studied quite a lot of my my self-development tools in English. So it's much more actually natural to me. And so and I think that I would never ever have written something like that in Finnish, because I had this inner need to be appropriate, sensible, and serious. Because what happened, actually, this book got a Harry Potter flavor in English.
Wow. So,
So
you found that using English, is it that it gave you more freedom in the language, or do you think there's some sort of Finnish identity thing that was affecting you, or your interpretation of that? What do you think that was?
Yes, definitely my interpretation of what I was supposed to write in Finnish. That was affecting it. And when I started writing in English, I got totally loose.
I find that really fascinating. Maybe that's something that's a good takeaway for people who listen to this. It's kind of I see that as a really good device. Some people would argue that, oh well, so you become, rather than being the Finnish you, and you found that to be limiting, which is, again, it's a national identity thing, and it's our interpretation. And then you found that if you stepped into the English you, you found more freedom, play, and fun. So where my practical brain takes that is, it's quite a good device. Is if you get stuck in a particular aspect of yourself, you can try a different one, and you might find that all sorts of different things come through, which, as you know, I'm speaking to someone who knows this, it's core to sort of the sense of how in non-personal awareness and NPA, we talk about how the identity, is the master, really, that then you follow your beliefs, behaviors, and emotions. Yeah. So the Finnish you was limited and not as playful. That's the way you've interpreted that. Yeah. English speaking you has more freedom. So not to be limited by, you think this is the appropriate me in this situation. If it's not working, try something else.
Yeah. And, in my book, actually, I describing our limiting beliefs, labels, etc., I'm describing them as dragons.
Ah, yes.
If you have dragons on your way, you can always, find another route past them. So
I love that. It speaks to me. I mean, I'm a Dungeons and Dragons geek anyway, and I love fantasy stories and science fiction, and there's this idea. But in the narrative of that, I love sort of story archetypes, and I think we have a lot of very positive, imprinting in ourselves when you present a story in that narrative. It's kind of natural. It's like the hero's journey. We naturally identify with the hero, and our stories of the hero is, you're going to overcome it. Yes, it might be a challenge, but you're going to overcome it. So I think that's a really powerful thing to do.
Yeah. And actually, the book is about the reader being a hero. And in the book, I'm presenting also other hero stories where people have conquered their dragons. So it is about you or any one of the readers really being a hero. And that's what we are. We normally just don't pay attention to it. But, in normal everyday life, we are only aware of 5% of our decisions and actions through the day. 95% we do without consciously paying attention to them. And if we didn't get hit by a car or stumble in the stairs, we did a whole lot of things perfectly. And normally we just pay attention to those things where we should get better at or which we should fix. But there is so much perfection in us. And that's what is fascinating.
Yeah, and I think if I'm right, that's the essence of the book. I mean,
yeah,
how to find where there's so much excellence happening already.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. I know I've teased the story of. We'll finish off with the story of how you become the first ever. So people have to stay to the end for that one, because we're kind of getting into it. We're getting into excellence.
to the beginning.
yeah, we'll work back to that. But this is really fascinating, that the whole idea of rather than necessarily focusing exclusively or in the majority on what's going wrong, you're looking at where is the excellence already happening automatically. Hence, from my perspective, from a non-personal perspective, and it makes sense because you've had years with NPA and all the other stuff that you've done in NPA. Most people will meet it with the fix the problems. It's like, because most people come to this kind of stuff because they, or most people in the personal development field, I would say, come to it because they've got a problem that they want to solve, and NPA does that. But what's often forgotten with NPA is there's a way to use it where you do exactly that, where you go, what is it that is out there in the energy is that that you're not including yourself in, and you've kind of taken that and gone, well, it's actually already, certainly there's certain things that are already there that you're just missing already. So how do people go about doing that? Or I should say, how do you help them do that? Because you do.
Actually, you have experienced that as well.
I have, but the listener hasn't.
So actually, the answer is in our system: body, mind, emotions. And as said, body is a huge container of intelligence. I mean, our conscious mind can process approximately 50 bytes data per second, right? And our subconscious can process. Do I get the English right? 11 billion bytes.
That's a significant difference.
Significant. It's like 5. Now I don't know inches, but 5 centimeters, 11 kilometers. What's that in inches? And
well, I mean, people can visualize that, which I think is really good. So I'm going to underline that. So what you're saying is that the way that the conscious mind, if you compare it to, like, say, a computer, if you convert that in terms of length, we can visualize it. It's like 5 centimeters. The unconscious mind, in terms of processing power, has 11 kilometers. Which is about 9 miles or something. That's huge.
That's huge. And it's a shame that we don't benefit that more. And it's actually, it's really simple when you just focus a little bit. So you focus in your body and you find your excellence recipes within your body, within your existing memory. You have loads of success to this age, or even a little bit younger age than our age.
So I love this. I'm going to drill down on this one because I think it's really important that people catch it. The term you used there was excellent recipes. And again, that's a wonderful way for people to imagine, because again, if you look at it from the other side, we look at our sabotaging patterns. which are sabotaging recipes or whatever.
Yeah.
And an excellence recipe is like, it's often we don't take the time to study, what it is, where things are working. What is the rest? What's the makeup of that? We can then transpose, I'm guessing, into other areas of our life. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, a good example of this one. I had once a young person coming to me, young lady. She was around her 20s, and she had been applying for the university already a couple of times, but she didn't get in. And the problem was that, first of all, she was nervous. She was so nervous, and that, her whole attention went to her body reactions because of that nervousness. And that's not all, but her whole family's attention went to her body stress reactions. So there were doctors involved, etc., etc., etc. So she came to me, and I was listening to her, and of course we did, NPA exercises, of course. We did some exercises, and I said to her, after first time, I said to her that, listen, for the next time, think about, bring back a memory of an learning situation where you have had similar phases as here when you are applying to university. So similar kind of steps where you eventually succeeded. It can be, learning to drive a bicycle, or going from kindergarten to school, or whatever you'll find. And she came to me next time, and I was curious that, hey, what did you remember? And she says first that, no, I didn't remember anything. There is nothing I have been succeeding in. And I went like, oh, really? And I said that, okay, tell me more. And then she said, well, yeah, the only thing that I remembered was, when I was taking a driver's license test. And I went like, okay. So she started telling about that. And, her father, we need to take a test here in Finland. So her father had been teaching her. And of course, that's always quite sensitive when your parent is teaching you. So similar things, everybody gets nervous, everybody gets frustrated. There is tears and scream, and you can imagine. So she had been making the test, the driver's test, already 2 or 3 times. And then finally she succeeded. And when she was describing this, all these steps she had there along the way, whole family being totally nervous. So when she was describing that, and when she had finished, I was asking her that, hey, can you define where was the point? What made the difference that you finally then got your test approved? What was the difference? Where was it? What happened that you finally succeeded? And she said straight away, yeah, I just decided that now's the time. Enough with everything else. And when she found her recipe, we started just, copying. There was a lot of similarities already. And copying also that decision point, which she could define clearly immediately when I was asking about that. And yeah, rest is history. She got into the university, and actually now she has been already studying two master's degrees when I last checked in with her.
Again, I love it. It's like, it's one of those things. It's, again, I'm going to sort of put it along the lines of, or do a simile with NPA, but it's one of those things that seems so simple, and it is fundamentally really, really simple. But that bit you described, which is so common for people, that's, you know, what we're calling this episode, find your hidden excellence. It's not really hidden, it's there, but the bit which is on one hand simple and yet can be so difficult for people is exactly what you've described in that story, where it's like, oh, there's nothing, you know, and there's this dismissal of what's just there in your face, because we're sort of so clouded by the idea of being, whether it's being a failure or I can't do it, or those ideas are happening in our minds and our bodies. And then just that wonderful facilitation, and I imagine this is what you do a lot with your clients, is you help them to find, and it does help when someone else is supporting you in that exploration, because there's that sort of old saying we have in English, which is, you can't see the wood for the trees. It's like you're too close. But the minute that you were able to help her actually identify that there's this success recipe, this excellence recipe, and I've found this with clients where I've done similar things like this, where you go, well, it's working here, what did you do? And they realize there's like something which is so, it's like, oh, there's my right hand. Oh my God, there's my right hand. I'm really good with that, and I can use it for lots more things. So I think it's
and actually the point is which you are also using, and which I am also using, you know, NPA, within NPA we are talking about animations. Which and actually when you study your excellence skill, the point is that you look it as if you were looking through a magnifier glass. Do I say it right?
Yeah, magnifying glass, yes.
Yeah. So you look as if you were looking a slow motion movie, very slow motion movie, so that you have time to notice also the animations.
Yes.
So it's sometimes you can detect your excellence recipe only by turning your attention to the action, but sometimes you need to dig a little, and well, then there is excellence then there is hidden knowledge that has been born in a situation like, you know, where you get emotional or physical shock, and that's a little bit more difficult to detect, but that's also possible, as we've been doing together.
So animation, I better, because not all listeners will understand that term and go, what are you talking about? We're not talking about cartoons. So animation, what Mara is describing here, is it's a non-personal awareness term for noticing where there is natural movement, and I sometimes describe it as, where's the ripe fruit? A ripe fruit because it's already ready to drop. You don't have to force it off the tree prematurely, or pick it up the floor after it's gone rotten. It's like, it's that perfect timing combined with the action that's happening. So in this context, it's like when you slow things down, you can spot where the movement is, which is one of the biggest gifts of NPA, I think, is like, and to certainly, you know, we're just coming towards the end of the first ever NPA Mastery, which is the practitioner's training, and your staff on that program. And one of the things that was clear to me in terms of training practitioners is that I have to impart to them and help them experientially understand the importance of committing to the animation. And it's a skill. I talk about it, but it's a skill you learn by trial and error. We do a lot of, fairly confronting, we call them crucibles, where people, the participants will do live NPA with each other in front of everybody. And we all look at where they're not and where they are following the animation. And you can, when you begin to see that, you can see its impact in terms of how it makes that process of discovery so fluid, so easy. And so hence with your, and you've got 10 years under your belt of NPA. Was it 2011, I think?
It was 2010, actually.
So 11 years, good number.
11
years of that under your belt, plus all the other amazing things you've done. So it's threaded through, and I can really see how in the process of facilitating someone in uncovering their excellence, hidden excellence, it's like it just makes it fluid and effortless. Is that your experience?
Yeah, it's I feel that it's and especially when I myself, it's always been my, how you say, my ideology that that I enter each situation with clients, whether it's a group or a person, I enter with so-called empty head, not assuming or not knowing beforehand, but just being present and noticing what is in the awareness, what I can sense or see or notice.
And that's the other piece of the equation in terms of, again, because NPA Master, we seem to talk about that, but it's a practitioner training for the NPA process, but it's really a teaching of masterful facilitation. And those two pieces, the animation and having no agenda or coming without any assumptions, those two as a combination are super powerful. And then with what you're doing, bringing in, I just so love your approach with the Temple of Excellence and allowing the focus to be finding and I use it again because I love it, the excellence recipes, and then helping people to apply them where they think they're stuck, but they have the solution already. Super, super powerful.
Yeah, thank you. we didn't actually yet. We've been bubbling here, and we didn't actually tell ours.
Yeah, the time we didn't. No, so let's fulfill the promise of the story. So,
it was
2010. You go ahead. Share
actually,
say again.
Actually, I had heard about NPA already 2009, and my friend was about to introduce me to you in spring 2009, when you had obviously your first NPA.
That was spring 2009 was my first ever time. It came. So again, quick backup in case there's a new listener here. NPA stands for non-personal awareness. You've mentioned it. Mostly met as a simple 6-line process. I'd done years of working with something called the Journey Method, and I taught it in all different parts of the world. And NPA came to me, kind of popped out of me. I often say in answer to a prayer in 2007, and
5th of February.
Oh yes, 5th of February, which happens to be Maria's birthday. Another wild coincidence. So Maria shares a birthday with NPA, 2007, and I'd just kind of worked with it with clients and shared it until I knew it fully, and then was finally ready to teach it in spring 2009. And obviously, our mutual friend told you about it. So why weren't you there?
So actually, I'm sorry, Joel, we ended up in a salsa class instead.
Oh my gosh.
But next time, 2010, I think it was it in September, August, September, I was in Wales again. I was staying at our mutual friends. and there they had gone your experimental day, or how did you call it at that
Well,
time?
the experiential day at the time, yes, yeah.
And the moment when I heard, the phrase NPA, something in me went like ding.
Animation.
And after that weekend, when I came home, I did call you, I did send you Facebook messenger message, I did try to Skype you, I did email you, I really hunted you down.
Yeah, Tinkerbell Terrier. Remember that, guys?
Then I told you that, I need to have this training now. Immediately.
Yeah, from my perspective, because we hadn't met even through the journey, and it was like, so I knew you were part of the journey community in general. Obviously, we had mutual friends. There was this sort of force of nature coming at me. Was super keen to learn NPA, which was kind of wonderful, that someone had that sense.
Yeah.
So so what was? Did you come to the event, or I can't remember how it worked?
No, we arranged it privately in Skype.
Oh yes, so yeah, because I still do if people occasionally want me to teach them one-to-one.
Yeah. And the next thing was that I was telling you that, okay, now you need to come to Finland to teach it. And
yeah, I think that was pretty much how you phrase it. You have to come to Finland.
Yeah, now. And then I think that we had nearly 100 people over there for the first time. You've been several times in Finland.
But I think we did Finland 3 times, but yeah, there was a good lot of people there.
Yeah, so you came to Finland, and actually at that point you had only one day training. But I told you that this needs to be 2-day training.
Yeah.
So for you were preparing your first ever second day the night before the second day.
But this is I love to look at this, how our innateness is always there in how it goes. So we're describing in a comedic way, but you weren't saying anything that wasn't already in my energy. I was just not quite.
Yeah.
I was the right fruit in the sort of animation analogy. It's like you were saying these things with passion at a time where it was like enough to make that picking of the fruit within me. Yeah. So it was just an amazing experience, and doing it, for many years it was run as a 2-day event and included the beginning of NPA frames, which are a huge part of the mastery training now, and part of people who use it one-on-one. Those were introduced. The whole underlying philosophies had more space to go into about how, and I've talked about this in the podcast a lot, it's a relational model. It's about shifting your relationship.
That's really important. I mean,
So on the first event, it was done as 2 days. You could come to 1 or 2, and the second day was called the relational day. And then after that, I realized actually they both, just as you'd said, they both need to be there. And it became the what do we call it? The expansive weekend, and it became a weekend from that point for many, many years. In that way.
Yeah, and the next thing that happened, I think that I took the initial to invite you to Holland as well, and then my friend Tia invited you to Estonia, and but in addition to this, I think. No, it was over the phone or over the Skype when I told you that, okay, now you need to teach me to teach this.
Yeah, that was interesting. So this I think we did, because we ran the first teacher training, I think, in November 2011. So it would have been 2010, because you came over and stayed with came to my house.
Yeah, I came to your house, and you were teaching me to teach NPA.
Yeah, I was, which was kind of fun, and that's a long time ago. So you became the first teacher of first certified teacher of NPA. You share a birthday with NPA.
Yeah.
And in a sense, the book, even though I haven't written an NPA book, it will have a lot. You've included a lot of stuff in there. We've talked a lot about, making that okay with me and that kind of stuff.
In the book, the tool to conquer your dragons or swipe them out of your way. The tool is obviously NPA that I'm introducing to people, and also which we don't talk about so much, is that NPA is a perfect tool to open your inner doors to welcome things that you would like to experience already. So that's also another reason why I introduce NPA. Well, and I'm using NPA a lot. That's the third reason.
Well, you live and breathe it, and so really cool. So we're kind of coming to time. Can't believe that's flown by. So I want a couple of things then. So I know that you've got coming up a mastermind, which it is. So I think if people are, which is really focused on this approach, a mastermind. What's it called? Tell us about the mastermind you got coming up.
Yeah, it's called the Positive Change Mastermind Group. So the name tells it. If you are experiencing at your work, I'm specializing more at work than, for example, in relationships. So, and I think that you spend sometimes, well, at least third of your day at work, sometimes half, and the rest you sleep. So I think it's important part of our lives. So if you are experiencing things that doesn't flow, if you are experiencing that you don't love your work, or if you suffer there, or if you feel that, yes, I feel that there must be something else for me, or if you are looking for ways to combine your conscious way of living with your work, with business. So there's reasons, or if you just need more self-confidence, if you want to up level, these are the reasons to come to join to Mastermind Group.
And so is it for because whoever's listening to this may be asking, so is it for business people? Is it for career-based things? Is it open to all? Is it for people who want personal development? What's the kind of group you're looking for?
If I define it with the word executives, so I mean that people who have been working in their field of business. It can be, you don't need to be a salesperson, but you can be an expert in your field. You have been working already some years, not probably directly from university, but you have been working already some years, and it can be manager level, or it can be, the level is not so important, but somehow the experience and being a professional.
Yeah, that could be corporate, self-employed, together, but it's someone who's the focus of the Positive Change Mastermind Group that you're running is people in a professional context with personal life balance stuff, I imagine, to come in, experience, share, helping each other to find their hidden excellence, bring it into their lives and their careers more, and just expand. Did I get that? Fantastic.
That's correct. So,
and where do people find out about this?
obviously, I think that you are going to attach my personal information with the.
It'll be in the show notes. Yeah. So folks, if you go to the show notes, that'll be www.
Otherwise, I'm presented in Instagram. I'm active there, and in Facebook, and of course, I can be found also in LinkedIn. And there is my webpage where you find information about the next mastermind group.
Yeah, so just so people, it'll be in the show notes. Again, show notes for today, it's episode 105, will be www.beabrillianthuman.com/105. And so I'll have all of Marja's links there for her social media. Do check out her social media. Hit that like button and all those wonderful things. And there'll also be information there. And in case you're wondering, certainly in England, it would be like, how the hell do you spell that name? It is MarjaKoivisto. And if you put a .com at the end of that, you'll find the website. Did I get that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, perfect.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, and the book, do you have a publishing date for the book, or is that to be announced?
Publishing date is to be announced. I just got a second proofread to my email, so quite soon.
So here's what I suggest is that if you're fascinated, as I am, with this book and the idea of it, well, if the masterminds are fit for you, go check that out. But the book, which is going to be an amazing read for anyone, I think, who goes into this. If you're curious about the book, A, find Marja on social media. B, go to her website and find wherever she's got a sign-up box so you can get on her email so that you can be let know when the book comes out. And also, when it is published, I'll put a link directly in these show notes, so you have to come back to them, but I will have it there. So people, maybe if you're listening to this in the future, it may already be published, check the show notes. But those are the things I recommend. I think it's going to be an amazing book. I can't wait to read it fully. And is there anything you want to sort of have as your final takeaway offering to the Be a Brilliant Human listeners?
Takeaway offering.
It's like, what I mean by that is, what's your kind of, if you could give them one piece of like a golden nugget of advice out of all we've said, what would that be? Put you on the spot here, why not?
Okay. This is one of my favorite lines. If a healthy person learned to walk, they can do anything.
So there you go, folks. If you learn to walk,
you can do anything.
Do anything. Absolutely. Fantastic. Well, Marja, it's been a blast. Thanks ever so much for being here.
Thank you.
Good to have you on the show. We could do it again.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this show, I'd love you to do me a solid and tell someone about it. They can find us on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and most other podcast platforms. Plus, if you visit the website www.beabrillianthuman.com, you can share the show notes to social media and make my day. Also, make sure you hit that follow button, and if you haven't yet downloaded the NPA process sheet, head on over to joelyoungmpa.com and get your free copy today. Big love, and see you next time.